YouTube, what's the vibe? It's your boy Zbo708, and I'm back at you with another one. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for watching the videos, liking, subscribing, sharing. I appreciate all of you for supporting the channel. Today, I really wasn't going to do a video on these particular fragrances because, you know, they were something that I just wanted to add to my collection. And I try to bring, fragrances to the channel that are kind of like slept on and affordable and just, everyday wears type of fragrances, something that you can just vibe to, that's easy to wear. However, that's not to say that these fragrances are not easy to wear. So I'm gonna jump right into it. Let's talk about it. The first one is Azzaro, the Most Wanted. Now this fragrance, I really wanted. Like, I had already been watching it, already had plans on grabbing it, and it was just something about the fragrance that, I really, really wanted. It spoke to me. It was one of those fragrances that always sat in my mind, and, I wanted to get it. So it just so happened that there was like a price drop on it. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. It is Azzaro's The Most Wanted. I went for the gift set because this gift set was the exact same price as the 100 ml, the exact same price. So, I'm always thinking, why would I pay, $130 for 100 ml when I can get the gift set? And inside this gift set, you get the 100 ml, you get the deodorant, the Most Wanted deodorant, and you get the little travel joint to go with it. So I'm thinking, like, why get the 100 ml for the exact same price as the entire gift set? I'm always trying to think ahead, strategize on my fragrances. I'm not the guy that, and I'm gonna be the first one to tell you, I'm not the guy that's gonna, see a fragrance and just because I want the fragrance, I'm gonna be like, price don't matter. Price does matter. I feel like a goofy if I just go out and just spend money on a fragrance that I feel myself personally is not worth it to me. So, and as you can see, I've already put a nice dent in this, and I've been wearing it. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into this fragrance. I will put the note breakdown up top, let you see it, and you can check the notes out, because I'm not gonna really go into that. But this fragrance is, in my opinion, and even with Azzaro period, I feel like Azzaro is kind of like, it's a brand that's spoken about. It's a brand that, you could call it a designer brand, but I feel like it doesn't get the recognition that it should get. Azzaro, they do miss. They do miss. I'm not saying that all of them are just fire, but, for the most part, Azzaro is hitting the bullseye. They got very great fragrances. And, they're not as high on the tier as they should be, in my opinion. But on my shelf, I put them, you know, up there on, if not the top tier, you know, they damn close to the top tier. But this bottle is unique. I love this bottle. The Most Wanted. You got your revolver. That's nice. And that's very creative. I like that. So in this fragrance, it's an all-around universal fragrance. It's a fragrance that you could wear any season, anytime, any event. You know, it's nothing about this fragrance that speaks a specific season. You can put this on whenever you feel like it. And when I say whenever you feel like it, I put mine on whenever, any occasion. It doesn't matter. I wear it, you know, and it's a beautiful fragrance. Definitely a fragrance that people ask me, you know, what is it that I have on? And, you know, I'm not a gatekeeper, but it'd be hard to tell people, you know, about certain fragrances that you kind of like, you know it's fire. And you kind of don't, especially if it's, you know, you see somebody and you like, nah, I don't want Buddy smelling like me. No, it can't be to us. So, you know, I'm not a gatekeeper though. So, you know, if people ask me, I be reluctant sometimes, you know, under certain circumstances, but I will tell a person what it is that I'm wearing. And this is a mixture of just kind of odd, like fragrances, you know, kind of odd notes. But it's blended so well that nothing stands out over the next. It's just perfectly blended to a nice, beautiful, and it's not a sweet smell at all. It's not a sweet smell. So, you know, don't think that when you put this on, you're going to mistake it for, you know, something that's sweet. However, it does have this, you know, vanilla twist to it. This bourbon vanilla twist to it, but it's blended so well with the ginger and the woodsy notes because it's a basic fragrance. The note breakdown is basic. It's not complex. It's not a whole lot. And you will kind of get the vibe that it is a lot into it, but it's really not. It's a real simple based note fragrance that smells like it's a lot in it. But man, this is a beautiful fragrance. It doesn't remind me of anything, and that's the craziest thing about this fragrance, this one in particular. It doesn't remind me of anything. A lot of my fragrances, you know, when I put them on, they automatically kind of remind me of, you know, another fragrance, and sometimes in the opening, it'll remind me of something, but then in the dry down, it'll change and kind of have a blend of something else. But this doesn't remind me of anything that, you know, that I've smelled. You know, so I don't know. That's my take on the Most Wanted. I think the 100 ml is going around $130. The gift set cost me $130. So, and you get the deodorant and the traveler spray. So I went with the gift set. Next, I'm gonna jump into this one here. This one kind of pushed me over the edge to go ahead and grab the gift set. To go ahead and grab the Most Wanted because I knew I had to have this one. The reviews on this one was crazy. It had kind of captivated me just as much as the Most Wanted. So once I made my mind up to go ahead and grab this one, I knew that I was going to grab the gift set. So I just went ahead and grabbed both of them, you know. And this one is Azzaro Forever Wanted. The gold box. Yeah. So I knew that I was going to get this one. I knew that I wanted this one. I wanted this one just as much as, you know, I wanted the most wanted. And then they talk about the most wanted parfum is, you know, supposedly, you know, better than, you know, the most wanted. So I think I'm going to grab that one and just, you know, I might go and test it out and see how it smells. If it's familiar in any kind of way, I won't grab it. But if it have a different vibe to it, then yeah, I'll add it to the collection. But, you know, I grab what I want, you know, what I feel like I want to wear. And based off of the connection and the vibe that I get from the fragrance. So I heard so much about this one that instantly I had to go and you know, smell it for myself and see if I wanted it. And beautiful gold bottle. Got the revolver joint on that one too. And this style of bottle is classic. Like this outside of the box. This is it looks simple, but you know, it's creative. You know, it took some creativity to come up with this. But again, this one was like $145. And this is Azzaro's newest edition. This one just came out this year, so you know, kind of gotta like, you know, make a little more money off of it. If you got Azzaro the most wanted for $130, 15 more bucks for a new release, you know, they're not really hurting your pockets. And that's just, you know, how they looking at it. But, and then when you really look at designer as a designer fragrance, it's really not as up there as some of these $300-400 fragrances that, you know, are out there. However, fragrance wise, scent profile, scent the DNA, it's up there with these fragrances. And that's the thing that, you know, why I said that Azzaro don't get, you know, the recognition that I feel that it should get, because it's up there with some of these $300-400 fragrances. These are heat. These are heat. Now, this fragrance, it starts out sweet and fruity off the initial blast. In its dry down, it's still sweet, but that's more of an undertone, because then it goes into your cardamom, your clear sage, your lavender, and then you have that leather and woodsy and vetiver. I'm gonna post that up there too. Put the note breakdown up there for you to see, and you know, it'll be over there for you to check it out. But you don't really, I mean, it's a lot that's added in it, but it's perfectly blended to where it's a balance. And that's the key thing with certain fragrances. Certain fragrances have a balance that be so like well crafted that you can smell almost everything that's in there. And what you don't smell is so subtle that it evens it out, it balances it. So a lot of the leather aspect, I didn't really get that. I didn't really get the leathery feel unless it's like that soft leather. But you know, the fruity, the sweet, you get that, but it's not overpowering, and it's not one of those sweeps where you feel like, you know, it could be unisex or nothing like that. It's just a sweet to kind of like balance out, you know, the other notes. You know, you get the lavender, you get the cardamom, you get, which, you know, the cardamom is a little sweet, and peppery in its own, but it's blended perfectly. Like when I thought of getting this, the exact image and ideal that I had for this fragrance, looking at it and doing my research on it and checking the reviews out, is what I got from it when I initially sprayed it. I felt like, it was a winner. I was elated that I had it because it smelled good. It's one of those fragrances that you could put on and it's gonna project well, just like the Most Wanted. It projects well, it performs well. It leaves a really decent scent trail. And again, you're gonna get people to ask about this fragrance. I had, someone asked me about this fragrance and where did I get it from, and the whole rundown. Man, where did you get that from, man? What is that? Well, how much did it cost? And how can I, the whole rundown about the fragrance, which, this is what I do. I talk about these fragrances. I share these fragrances and just build. And this is how you learn about new fragrances. So I can't gatekeep. That's not, that's not what I do. But it definitely is a fragrance that's gonna get you attention. Now, whether somebody had the balls to walk up to you or, the courage to say, hey, you smell good, or what you got on, I don't know. That depends on the setting that you in, the environment, the people that you're around. Some of us got faces that, that's unapproachable. Our mannerism, the timing, all of that plays a role into it. So it depends on the circumstances. However, the fragrance is banging and, people are definitely paying attention to the fragrance, whether they say something or not. They can't help it. It's that much of a banger to me, in my opinion. And like I said, I've already had people that went, not only asked me what was it, but went out, copped it, and showed me that they copped it. Like, went out and got it and showed me, man, I went and I got that. That's fire. And I'm like, it is what it is. So these two are like my go-tos, and like, I don't want to necessarily say favorites, in my collection, but I favor them. If you understand what I'm saying. Like, you got those fragrances that you lean to or you always want to wear. And these two are, two of my fragrances that I always want to wear, but I know I can't always wear them because I have other fragrances. But, definitely two, beast mode fragrances. Again, I gotta try the Most Wanted Parfum. I gotta try that and see what that one do. This one is the Elixir. Forever Wanted Elixir, the gold one. So that's my opinion about these two. I just wanted to bring these two to you because I felt like, man, if I held them and didn't talk to you all about them, and y'all saw them, and y'all might be interested, I felt like, man, I'd be holding something, from y'all. And that ain't what we do. So I just brought these two amazing fragrances to you, just for, for you to check out, get a heads up on them. If you see them, and you interested in them, look into them. I would say before you purchase them though, give them a spray, test them out, see if it's something that you like, because they're a little more expensive than, you know, the Burlingtons, the Ross, the TJ Maxx and the Marshalls, you know, the $15 fragrances, the $30 fragrances, you know, even $40 fragrances. You know, you spending $130, $140 for a fragrance that, you know, if you haven't tested and you don't necessarily like it, or it don't necessarily mesh with your skin tone, you know, texture, excuse me, your skin texture, then, you know, it'll kind of set a negative tone for, you know, how you feel about the fragrance. So when I spend anything, you know, over $100, I need to test that joint first. I need to get that joint on my skin. I need to see how it smells. I even need to, even if I spray it and, you know, walk around the mall or whatever and let it dry down and, you know, test it on that dry down and see how it smelled in. There's been times where I would spray a fragrance on my skin and get up out of there and then double back the next day and get it. You see what I'm saying? Because, you know, when you start spending $100, 100, you know, 30, 40, anywhere over $100, you want to kind of know what it is that you're getting, and, you know, and you are extremely satisfied with what you're getting because you are the consumer. You're spending your bread that you work for, you know, that you sacrificed your time to make that money for, to spend on these fragrances that you love, you know. So with that said, I'm going to conclude this video. I'm going to get up out of here, let y'all go. Look, again, much love and appreciation for the support. Thank you for watching the videos. You know, continue to support. Please like, subscribe if you haven't. Share and jump in the comment. Let's talk about it. I'm out. Peace.